From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reported tonight,
Ijoma Oyato.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, ceasefire agreement may have suffered a setback as explosion in Bauchi Motor Park kills 5 people. The president replies critics on human rights abuses, says allegations of torture by the military are exaggerated. Chief of Naval Staff gives assurance of military's preparedness to ensure successful 2015 general elections. And Canadian government promises to strengthen nation's terror laws after a gunman opened fire in the Parliament building.
And on Business News tonight, the Nigeria Sugar Master Plan gets a boost as private investment in sugar production hits 500 billion naira.
On Sports News tonight, Jos Federal High Court nullifies NFF September 30 elections as ruling body quickly appeals the decision, filed for stay of execution.
And Gloria Umeze-Keyam from Abuja, the federal government establishes a National Emergency Operations Center in Abuja as part of measures to contain any new case of the Ebola virus disease.
It was a dreadful day today, with news that 5 people have allegedly died and 12 others injured after a vehicle loaded with explosive devices went off in Azare Motor Park in Bauchi State. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Mr. Haruna Mohammed, said the dead were burnt beyond recognition, while the others who sustained various degrees of injuries are receiving treatment at the Federal Medical Center in Azare. He also explains that the scene of the incident has been cordoned off by the Police Explosives Ordnance Disposal Unit. Well, from this tragic incident to another worrying situation, this time in Adamawa State, where over 60 women have allegedly been abducted by gunmen suspected to be members of the terrorist group Boko Haram. And even though this is widely reported, the Adamawa state government says it cannot confirm the abduction of over 60 women in Waga, Mangoro and Gartal villages in Madagali local government area of the state. The Director of Press and Public Affairs to the Adamawa state governor, Mr. Fiennes Elisha, told Channels Television in a telephone interview that the area where the incident occurred cannot be accessed.
Chairman for Michika and Madagali. She was in my office. But he said the place is inaccessible. There was no way he would move to that place to confirm. And there is no report from, there is no confirmation from security agencies. So honestly, whatever we have, we are relying on just what the press has just said. So we cannot at this stage confirm the exact number that has been abducted. For security reasons, it's almost a condemned area because still is under the control of insurgents for now. It's worrisome. We are very, 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 very worried.
Well, 6,000 residents of 2 villages attacked by terrorists have fled the area to safety in neighboring towns. Waga, Mangoro and Madagali in Garta, that's Michika, have now turned to ghost towns. One of the residents who spoke to Channels Television on condition of anonymity also confirmed that 62 girls were abducted in Michika and Madagali local government areas and not 60 as is being reported. The resident told Channels Television that the insurgents dressed in military uniforms not only attacked the villages but burnt down several houses. He explained that many people who fled and are now taking refuge in Mubi town, Yola, the Adamawa state capital. According to the resident, a village called Kirher was raided and burnt down, and 2 girls were abducted from the area. He said the fleeing villagers are now being accommodated at the National Youth Service Corps Orientation Camp and 2 secondary schools. Now, despite reports of attacks by the insurgents, the governor of Adamawa State, Bala Ingilare, says Nigerians should give the federal government and the Boko Haram the benefit of the doubt and give their peace talks a chance. The governor also commended the federal government for taking the bold step to negotiate with members of the sect in a bid to end years of violence in the northeast region part of the country. He, however, pointed out that his state is now faced with the challenge of an increasing number of internally displaced persons as the attacks continue.
On the streets of Jamaica, Adamawa State, people go about their businesses. The town, however, has become a haven for a lot of internally displaced persons from areas affected by insurgency. Most of the internally displaced persons are at this camp, which opened just over 2 months ago with just 34 people.
And when we started, predominantly they were women and children, very few men. But up to this stage, I'm talking to you, you know, IDP number is always fluid. At the close of yesterday, we had over 5,075 IDPs. And you can still see more are coming in. So virtually, I can say it is very challenging.
Now, we understand that outside the support coming from the federal government and the state government and some other agencies, individuals have also come here to try and lend their support to the upkeep and, you know, taking care of these IDPs. I've heard of people coming with 7 loaves of bread, an outpour of support for their fellow brothers and sisters. The internally displaced persons say they are grateful to the government and look forward to an end to the conflict.
Muna godewa Allah kuma muna godewa gwamnatin Adamawa sun ba mu duk kulawar da muna bukata a gare su. Everything I need for you. Shine muna fatan Allah ya sa su yi sulhu kowa ya koma gidajen shi lafiya. Fatan mu.
Governments are helping us. They are just bringing food. We are just thank God for their life. And we thank God for our life here. We want them to do school for us. As the one who have already finished school now, we want to go another school.
The state governor says the growing number of internally displaced persons is a constant challenge. He says he looks forward to an end to the conflict, even as he commends the federal government for commencing negotiations with the insurgents.
We commend the federal government because the long short of it is that wars are on the table of negotiations. So we commend the federal government for taking the bold steps to enter into ceasefire.
Reacting to reports of continued attacks despite the ceasefire, he said Nigerians should give the peace talk a chance.
We should give the government and the parties, the Boko Haram, the benefit of doubt. You see, sometimes, as you very well know, it may take some time before orders from above permeate down to the very grassroots or to the person right there doing the fighting for whoever party it is. And you know, you can never also don't foreclose the possibility of mischief makers down the rank who want to square it up and say they must have their own fifth dam or whatever.
For now, the governor says the state will continue to do its best to cope with the number of internally displaced persons who have made Adamawa their home. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Away from peace efforts in the northeast, there are allegations of human rights abuses and torture by security operatives during military operations in the country. While the President, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, believes that a lot of those stories are exaggerated. The President made this observation at an international conference on civil-military cooperation for effective internal security operations, holding at the National Defense College, Abuja. Our State House correspondent, Chukwu Maunekuse, reports.
The 3-day international workshop has as its theme civil-military cooperation for effective internal security operations. The President recognizes that there must be a cordial relationship between the civilians and security operatives as the war against insurgency rages, hence the need to follow international best practices. But he sues for full support for the military.
These human rights issues are blown out of proportion. I remember ambassador of one of the countries came to see me because of these Boko Haram issues and raised issues of human rights, or his country is reluctant to do this or do that because of the human rights abuses by my soldiers and so on. So I said, Mr. Ambassador, please could you help me? If your country mean well for us, send some of your troops to come and join my own troops. And for some time, let us really know where these problems are coming. And if we don't discipline our soldiers, then hold me responsible. Send them to come and help us. They have been going to other countries. They should come and join our soldiers to fight. And it's never happened. I'm not saying there are no issues. There are issues. We are dealing with the issues. But the soldiers themselves need to be protected. They are also human. They also have rights.
National Security Advisor Mohammed Sambo Dasuki said the theme has been carefully selected in collaboration with the European Union, and he said that it is timely considering allegations against military of poor human rights record.
We have been making concerted efforts to correct the current impression that our security forces are involved in widespread acts of human rights abuse, which is also condoned by government. We will all recall that we recently hosted an international conference on the observance of human rights, which was attended by the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, and other international human rights luminaries. That event reinforced our commitment to attaining zero tolerance for human rights abuses for our security forces.
Chairman of the occasion and former head of state, General Abdusalami Abubakar, commended the president for his efforts so far and described the gathering as a history-making event and thanked the EU for their support.
Let me thank Mr. President for his untiring support to the security agencies in dealing with the daunting security challenges facing our nation. Mr. President, we thank you, and please don't be tired. I also want to appreciate the security agencies and all stakeholders for their efforts towards enhancing mutual cooperation.
Head of the political session of the EU commended the soft approach Nigeria has applied in the fight against insurgency and the need to improve on it, which is the focus of his organization.
Let me quote the title of a report of the Defence Committee of the British House of Commons. The point of war is not just to win, but to make a better peace. Dedicated military and civil personnel from different agencies and organisations will form the basis and the core of a new and durable civic community in Nigeria.
It is a confidence-building workshop, and the result is expected to begin to manifest in the near future, especially as the president has reaffirmed his support to security agents as the fight against insurgents continue. Chukuma Onekusi, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, more aspirants show interest for the Rivers governorship seat. That's in a moment. Do join us again.